This is the Ottawa Senators Outlook. Here is your host, Jack Henry.
Hello and welcome to the Ottawa Senators Outlook. I'm your host, Jack. This is my season recap video for the Senators 23-24 season. So let's get right to it. So obviously, as you know, the Senators' final record was 37-41-4, and they finished with 78 points, 7th in the Atlantic Division. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of like what happened this year and what needs to change for next year, and again, just reacting to the season overall. The Senators last year had 39 wins and 8 overtime losses, so that was 86 points. So they were 6 points out of the playoffs last year. They were 13 out this year. So the final wild card, which was Florida last year, had 92 points. The final wild card this year, Washington, had 91. And the Senators obviously dropping 8 points from last year, and they only dropped 2 wins. So they went from 39 wins to 37. So that doesn't sound bad, but they still, had less points and more losses. I do think a big flaw for the Senators was they didn't get to overtime as much this year. Obviously, as you know, they went to overtime a lot more last year, therefore getting them more points. But I do want to say this, though, in terms of like what needs to change for next year. I do think the goaltending needs to change. I don't care how you get rid of them, but I think Korpisalo and Forsberg can't be here as much as there's been speculation that we can't get rid of Korpisalo. He hasn't been good this year. And then Anton Forsberg obviously has 1 year left, so I mean, we'll see what happens there, but I think they might get rid of him at the very least. I do want to see some defense change. Obviously, we have a ton of love shot D. I think Eric Brandstrom for sure is going to be gone. And then you have to decide between Shabbat and Chychrun. And if I were to take my guess right now, I think Shabbat would be out because Jacob Chychrun obviously had a better offensive year, in my opinion, and he was able to stay healthy more. He was able to play a full 82-game season for the first time in his career, and Shabbat has been in and out of the lineup with injuries. So we'll see what happens there. And on top of that, Chychrun's contract is up, and if the Senators wanted to re-sign him, I don't think he's going to be making $8 million like Shabbat does. So if it came down to those two, I think he would save a little bit more money by re-signing Chychrun at like something like $7 million maybe. But that's not my decision to make, but that's what I would make if I were the GM. And I do want to say we do need to bring in a couple right shot defensemen. I don't know who exactly you bring in, whether you keep Zub and bring in another guy, say like a Chris Tanev or a Sean Walker maybe. But they need to get a couple right shot defensemen in the team, so that's going to be big for Steve Staios this offseason, and most importantly, coaching. By the time I'm recording this is Wednesday morning I'm recording this, so there's still a couple candidates available. As most of you know, the Buffalo Sabres fired Don Granato, which was not a surprise to anybody in my opinion. But again, that means more teams are having coaching vacancies, and we'll just see what happens with that. Obviously, Craig Berube's out there, Dean Evanson's out there, Jake Woodcroft, Gerard Gallant, Todd McClellan even, and even for Buffalo, if they wanted to bring him back like we did with Jacques Martin, Lindy Ruff. So I do want to say this too, and maybe I'm just spitballing here, but we'll see. I have heard some speculation, even from Penguins fans, maybe this is not true, that maybe the Penguins could get rid of Mike Sullivan. I brought that up in the past. I don't know if it's going to happen. But if he gets relieved from his duties in Pittsburgh, the Senators should be all over that. I don't know if it's going to happen. Obviously, I'm recording this on Wednesday, and this video is coming to you on Saturday. So by the time this video comes out on Saturday, and if he's fired, I think the Senators should make a huge pitch towards him. But we'll see what happens there. But bottom line for Steve Staios, he has his work cut out for him. You want to bring in a couple of new forwards in there. Goaltending needs to change and revamp that defense. It doesn't sound like much, and we're going to be getting a little bit more cap space. Obviously, we were right at the cap this year, and one thing I do want to say is we have almost $5 million in dead cap coming off our books, and add in the $4 million cap increase this year. So that's going to be big for the Senators. So it doesn't seem like a tough job to do for Steve Staios, but he has to do something. And then on top of that, you're going to have a ton of teams fighting for the playoffs. Obviously, the Red Wings barely missed out on the playoffs. You have the Capitals in there. The Penguins, we'll see what happens with them. They'll be fighting for that. I think the Flyers might be going for a playoff spot again, just because of how good of a year they had. And then the Devils, they'll be trying to get back into the playoff picture. But then you have the Panthers, Bruins, Maple Leafs, and Lightning, the top 4 teams. They're still in it. But then you have the Sabres, Red Wings, and then Devils, Penguins. Obviously, the Capitals still there, the Flyers. So it's going to be tough for the Senators, and they have to get it right this offseason. I think they're one of the teams this offseason that needs to crush it, basically. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, they're going to be not making any knee-jerk reactions. And one thing I do want to bring up, too, before I head out on this one, is the Senators are slotted to draft 7th overall, or that's depending on the pre-draft odds. But we'll see what happens. But I would expect our pick to be 7th overall. Again, there wasn't really much to say. I do think a few things need to change. But overall, Steve Staios has work cut out for him. And we'll see what he puts in for a product for next season. So this might have been a little short and sweet, but this was my season recap. Thank you for tuning into the Ottawa Senators Outlook this season, and hopefully good things are to come for the Senators next season and beyond. So my playoff bracket video will be coming out later today on Saturday, and my exit interview reactions will be coming out as well, so look out for all that. But for now, this is Jack the Ottawa Senators Outlook, and go Sens go.
Thank you for watching this presentation of the Ottawa Senators Outlook. For more of this podcast, click on the videos on the left and subscribe by clicking on the icon on the right. Thank you.